What is going on, guys? This is the Poke Tea Time podcast, where we serve you up a cup of the hottest takes on what's going on in the Pokemon community. The name's about to change, guys. It's about to be the Vaulted Podcast. Those guys who are in the Discord, you guys have seen the logo, and I'm just very, very pumped and excited for the changes to come. I hope you guys are as well. But most importantly, tonight we have a very special guest. His name is Min. This is GradedGuard. We have GradedGuard. The person sitting in front of
What's
us
up?
is Min. You could say he is the face of the company. And very, very excited to talk shop about the protection side of the hobby, being able to protect your cards, and what all goes into it. But before we get right into it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We are so close to hit monetization. We already have the hours done. We're just this close to hitting the subscriber count needed to hit monetization. I think we're at like 43 more subscribers left. So really soon, really soon. It's I'm really pumped about it because it's just one of those things that adds an extra level of validation to everything that I do as far as content goes, and it only makes it much more beneficial for our audience. So for those guys who are here, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. If you're listening to us through Apple Podcasts and Spotify, make sure you give us a 5-star review. We were just having a bug with one of our auto uploaders for Buzzsprout. So some podcasts are currently missing, and that issue has been fixed. I do apologize for that. And yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. We have Min here. He is the founder and CEO of GradedGuard, right?
Yep.
Yep. We're going to be discussing how he got into the hobby, if he took any breaks, obviously. I think it's important to talk about people's upbringing into the hobby because obviously there is a lot of commonalities, but it's important to understand the nuances that people have within this space, because there's always that different flavor that everyone brings to the hobby that just pretty much sticks without their entire lifetime. As well as what got him into the business of being able to produce product to protect people's cards, as well as to display cards. Because I have a piece right here. Even though it protects my card, I also consider it as a display piece, because the colors just pop. This is my
There we
Shrek
go.
one of one. I call it Ogre Green or Pistachio. Let the camera focus in. There we go. And Min actually gifted this to me, so
I got
I did the same
I
thing and
have
gifted him.
a
Hell
matching
yeah!
one of one.
Hell yeah, dude! I'm so pumped that you showed the Shrek card. Just
Yeah, this was a
really,
great gift. I
yeah.
appreciate it.
Hey, you did the same thing for me, so it's only right by me to do the same thing. So again, I thank you so much for joining the podcast, and the guest here today. I mean, our audience here today will appreciate what you have to bring to the table and what you bring to the overall table of card collecting, because what you do doesn't necessarily just touch on Pokemon. It touches pretty much a lot of different collectibles as far as cards go, whether it's sports cards, Magic the
Yep.
Gathering, just pretty much anything that is cardboard related and that gets encapsulated. You're pretty much behind that. So let's go ahead and get down to the nitty gritty. This is Min.
Sure.
Guys, let's go ahead and put some rocket ships emojis in the chat, some fire emojis in the chat, whatever hype emoji you have. Make sure you punch it down, smack it with your fingers, with your keyboards or your phones, whatever you're watching us through, and let's go ahead and get right into it. So, Min, tell us about how you got into the hobby, and walk us through how you got involved. What were some of the things that kind of influenced you into collecting specifically Pokemon cards? Because I know some people, they just play the video games
Sure.
and they get involved with the cards. Talk to us a little bit about that. Tell us if you actually fell out of the hobby or not, because most people I know, they kind of took a break or a pause from the hobby,
Yeah.
and they just kind of got reintroduced back into it. So like, let's go ahead and start off with how you got into the hobby.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it, man.
Just kind of like a basic overview of like what got me really into all of this. I mean, I grew up with it. Grew up with Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon, watching all of those and kind of casually collecting stuff like that back then. Like just here's my Yu-Gi-Oh deck and here's like a deck for Pokemon and here's some binder cards and you buy a Digimon pack when you see it at the store and stuff like that. It's what I would ask for and whatnot. But it was never anything, as serious as it is now. But I'd say probably around maybe it's Diamond and Pearl era, I kind of fell off of like wanting cards, and it was more so just keeping up with the games as they came out. So played a bunch of the games, I kept up with it every year. And then college was when, so that was back around 2011, 2012. I got very serious into collecting plush.
Hey,
I just yeah, I went pretty deep on like the Poke Plush like live journal community, which was pretty popping back then. I don't know how big it is now
Dude, you
still.
were on LiveJournal?
Yeah,
Dude, that is crazy. Cause like, and the reason why I say that's crazy is because LiveJournal was a thing before the Instagram Pokemon community was a thing. That's what a lot of people
yep.
don't know. And what's actually cool about that is LiveJournal is the reason why I kind of started collecting a lot of the high end vintage toys I have today,
There you
back in
go.
2019. And so like, you've been around for a long time if you've been involved with
Yeah.
LiveJournal. That's kind of crazy. Like, so you said you got involved with Pokemon. What was that first set for you?
So like as far as like what I was collecting again or just back then?
Yeah, yeah, back then. What was that? What was your first introduction? Like, what was that first set
Oh,
that you were introduced to?
it was literally like the beginning. Like,
Okay.
I got red version from my parents, my grandparents got me blue, and then played the games, collected since base set and all of that. Honestly, I don't know what happened to all those cards. Like I don't actually have any
Yeah.
childhood cards really. I just have cards
Same.
from like the 2010s and up, right? Like just some bulk or whatever I collected on the way. But yeah, childhood cards are kind of just oof, they've poofed away. But yeah, I've been introduced to it since the beginning. So when I like came back into the hobby, that's kind of like where I started, just trying to get back like some of like that very early end nostalgia. So yeah, pretty much since the beginning, man. And then yeah, LiveJournal is honestly what kicked it back up for me. Several years of it, just buying plush during college. That's kind of
Yeah.
what I did with
Do
any
you have
disposable income
any
I
of
had.
those like major collectibles as far as the plushes go? Because I know some people are really really ham about it. Some people go intense about it. So, like for those guys who do
Yeah,
not know, some plushies actually hit thousands of dollars. Like
it was a
it's
good
no
one.
joke. Oh man, I
I've got
I saw
the
that sitting
one-to-one
next to you,
scale
but I
magic
didn't
card.
know. Oh man, that is cool. That
Yeah,
is cool, dude.
he's definitely one of my favorites. Still
I'm
has
jealous.
the original hang tag and everything.
Oh, man, that is so cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of one of the criteria I always had was I was importing a bunch of stuff from Japan. Always had to make sure it had the hang tag. At one point, I had the lottery shiny dog plushies, but I did sell those like kind of when I left my job, and I was like, I need some extra money.
Oh man,
So yeah, I don't have
Slowpoke
those
actually
anymore.
has a Raikou up for sale right
I
now.
saw, yeah, I almost considered DMing him, but I was like, you know what? I need to
Cool down a
really
little
focus
bit.
in on
Yeah.
yeah the things that I'm doing right now. But as far as other like plushy grails, I do still have like I have the original release of the Japanese 1-to-1 scale Kanto trio, and I have the Johto trio in 1-to-1 scale as well that was released back, I don't know, that was like 2001, 2002 or something. And there's
That's
some of my
insane.
favorites. Yeah, I've got some of the original like 1-to-1 Pichu, Togepi, Pikachu, and I don't really remember what else. A lot of it is still sitting at my parents' house, and then I have a collection of like I think it's like 60 or 70 now Piplup plushes because he's my favorite.
Dude, that is insane though. Like
Yeah,
there's not many people that I know that I pretty much talk to on a consistent basis that used to or still collects, actual rare plushes like yourself. That's kind of cool. And that Magikarp,
yeah,
I'm jealous of. I was just looking at one on
pretty
eBay. Like what
great.
does that run? Like $700?
I'm pretty sure they're 700 or 800 now. Yeah, I think when I bought it,
Golly.
I paid like maybe 200, right under 200 for him because it was pretty much right after release. I think I got him in 2014 or 2015, and they came out in 2013. I also have the posable Red Gyarados plush too. Sits on my bedside. I curled him around like a little lantern. It's pretty dope.
That's crazy. Cause like
Yeah,
for those guys who do listen to this or if you do watch this, um you guys do not understand how difficult it is to get shiny variations of like whether it's the toys or the plushes or anything of the
yeah.
sort. Like that license does not show up too often and Pokemon does not give that out like to
Hmm.
many companies to begin with. Like you don't see Jazzwares having that license.
Yeah,
Hasbro had it very very briefly.
for
Jack
those, yeah,
specific
for the plastic toys.
Yeah, Jack specific didn't have it. I think Wicked Cool Toys had it for a plush. It might have been the Magikarp, the more affordable shiny Magikarp for Wicked Cool Toys.
Yeah, yep.
Um,
Even like
but
this plush, like it's like they only released it in I want to say like one or two Pokemon centers, right? For like a brief
yeah,
amount of time. And that's not nearly enough for at the time, it was probably decent for the demand because it's expensive, right? Like in
Yeah.
2013, you're telling people to spend 60, $70 on a plush. Like people are like, eh, like that's
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah,
But
yeah.
now, can you imagine if this released at like the Pokemon Center online, it'd sell out in 2 minutes.
Yeah,
At,
yeah, it would
like,
sell out in seconds. Yeah. That's
yeah.
insane, dude. Yeah, that's
Oh,
I'm impressed. Like just from the talk about the plushie collection and the live journal collection, that's really cool. I'd say I feel like Slowpoke might have frequented live journal too.
yeah.
Just because he's been in the hobby for like 10 years. So like I'd say you and him are probably two people that probably frequented
We
that. And maybe
we might
Charlie
have
too.
crossed paths. Yeah, we might have crossed paths at the time, but I was really, really centered only on plushes. Like
Yeah.
I barely knew anything about like the card market. At that time, like literally the only thing was like if I happened upon a cheap lot at a garage sale or something on eBay while I was looking for plushes, then I would like get into it and be like, oh cool, like I got some cards. I remember in 2012, I think I got two sealed base set boxes from a store that was like clearing everything out. I got them for $100 each.
What?
And
Get out of
this is what
here.
this is when they were 4 or 500, okay? And they were just like, just take them, whatever, $100 each. And I sold them for 500, and I was on top of the world.
Dude, that's exactly like myself. So I bought back in 2020. Uh I was trying to find Plasma Storm booster boxes at that time.
Mhm.
And around March I couldn't find any. And that was a box that I really really wanted. And it was sort of affordable. It was within my means. It was within my range of just being able to acquire. And at that time market value was 1,500.
Okay.
I found a local card shop in Calgary, Canada.
Oh
Someone linked me
man.
to the shop owner. He had two booster boxes just sitting there collecting dust. He's like, I want 750 US dollars for it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll give you that. So I paid him seven hundred
Oh
fifty
man.
dollars for two booster boxes. I sold one for $2,100, and then the other one towards the end of the month for $3,000. And I'm like, holy crap, that was a
Uh,
huge flip. And I used the money to basically buy my Charizard and my shiny Charizard
yeah.
combat figure and my shiny Scyther combat figure. And people call me crazy, but hey, fuck it.
No,
Um,
it's not crazy though. Like I fully believe in you need to collect like what you love, right? Like
yeah, yeah.
if you can move on from the booster boxes and get into something that you're like much more attached to, that's how it should be.
Yeah, and the thing is like for me, I see, I ask myself like, how easy is this to replace? Like, how easy
Hmm.
will it be easier to acquire this box later on? And the answer is yes. If I have money,
Yeah.
I'll always be able to find a booster box of Plasma Storm.
Yep.
Um, but the
But
question
will
is
you
like,
be able to find the same toys?
no,
Mm-mm.
and I'm glad
You
I
might
don't
not get
regret it.
anybody.
No, I don't
Yeah.
regret it because I have not been able to find any sense, or they just get sniped completely away from me.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, that's really cool. So after you collected plushes, pretty heavy.
Yeah.
What was that moment that offsets you from plushes to, let's say, cardboard?
So cards happened because of it's a very specific moment too, and I know it because in was it 2016, 2017, I left my first job that I had out of college and I was feeling kind of bummed, right? I was like, I just need a little bit of motivation for myself while I'm like interviewing and trying to find something else. I just like got done being a consultant, decided that was not for me. So I'm
Mm,
trying to find something else and I need motivation. So what do? I revisit the cards I wanted as a kid. And the card I always wanted was Gold Star Latias, the Japanese one. And I remember back in like middle school, like looking it up and being like, wow, it's like so pretty. Like, what are these cards? Like, I barely even knew anything about like the Japanese side, right? Because I mean, I was around when like EX, like Team Rocket, Deoxys, and all those came out, and I had a couple of gold stars actually that I got from friends in like middle school. You know, we
mm.
were just like trading random stuff, right? Like a Mudkip was worth like $25. It's not a big deal, but I remember seeing the Japanese one and thinking, wow, like Aladios is like $50. Like that's so much money. I'm a seventh grader. You know, I can't afford that. Like what like and I can't find anybody to trade for it because it's not like anybody here has that. So I was like, oh, like what is this PSA grading thing? You know, like I kind of knew about it, but I was like, okay, so there are ones that are graded tens and they're like the best. So I'm gonna get the best version of the card I always wanted. So I bought a PSA 10 first edition Gold Star Latias for $600. And at the same time, I was offered the Latios for like 500 more. and the Rayquaza for I think another like 2,000. But I was like, I don't need those. So I only got the Latias, but it is the first graded card I ever got. I still have it.
That's
I could
cool.
never part with, yeah, I could never part with it because it means a lot to me. It's like it genuinely is something I've wanted since I was a kid. So to like treat my former self to that like really means a lot. And then I just got into grading, man. I was like, wow, I want more tens or just other like nice cards. So like, why don't I just do it myself? So I started buying cards, buying lots, and then just, sending, grading, selling, trading, and just building up my collection like that. So yeah, it was a wild ride, but it all started with that Latias.
That's pretty
Good
crazy,
times.
man. Good. That's a cool story. That's a cool story. I
Yep.
kind of sold my soul because the first, uh, back in 2019, I was pretty scared about spending $100 on a booster box. Like,
Yeah.
nowadays it's like, oh yeah, just $100, screw it. Like
Yeah.
I'll do it. Like fuck it. But no, I was like, man, this is $100 for some cardboard, and then like
I
I
feel that, man.
yeah,
I
and so
feel
like
that.
when I bought my first booster box, it was cuz like I had been buying like packs here and there, and I was just so scared to
Yep.
buy like an actual booster box of anything. So like in 2019 I got into the hobby in April, and I was just opening up some evolutions packs and Detective Pikachu packs. And that was fun.
Yeah.
But I was like at that time where I was like, you know what? Like I'm trying to figure out what I want to do for like the rest of my life.
Hmm.
Because I was back home, I was running my family's business, but like that's cool and stuff, but there was just so much extra time after I got off from work, and then after working out, there was just so much extra time. It's like I need something to actually fulfill that extra time that I had. And
Makes sense.
that's where Pokemon kind of came into play. And I told myself, it was something stupid that I told myself. I was like, okay, I bought a booster box of Burning Shadows. I said, if I do not pull the hyper rare Shadowless, I mean the hyper rare Charizard
Charizard.
GX, then I'm not gonna do this. Like I don't want to do this.
Oh man.
And so 30 packs deep in, I'm like, oh man, like I'm just losing money. Like each pack I'm ripping to is just fail after fail after fail. It's like I'm losing like $3 and something cents here, $3 there,
Yeah.
$3 there. Eventually, I think it was like the second to last pack, I pulled the hyper rare Charizard, and I'm like, yo,
You're trapped. You're trapped.
yeah, I was like, dude, I went to my mom and showed us like, I was like, mom, this is like a $300 card. She's like, okay, sell it. I'm like, no, you gotta get it graded.
That's
So
exactly how my parents reacted back then to stuff like this too.
yeah, oh, my parents still act like that today. But when I tell them like, hey, this is worth this, it's like, oh, okay, just put it in the safe. I'm like, okay, cool. Um,
Yeah.
but it's just a weird thing, and I was trying to figure out what I was trying to do, what I loved, because I was trying to a bunch of different things, and if it's like if I can't figure out a way to like sort of monetize this, uh,
Hmm.
immediately, then it's just something that I don't want to do. Because I want
Sure.
to be able to do something that I love, and so like a lot of the things that I tried were either super saturated or the barrier of entry was just a
Yeah.
lot higher. So Pokemon just kind of uh filled that in, and it's just been working out ever since. But
That's awesome, man.
that I can totally relate as far as that goes. So um at that moment, what was after you got your Grail card as a kid? What
Yep.
was the next thing that you were trying to chase after? Because like I know you're buying lots. What's that one thing? What's that other one thing that you will not ever sell? Like what was that one true Grail card that you've been looking for, or that you have today, or that you're still going after?
So after that, I decided, well, one, I'm a big fan of, I just collect like art that I like usually.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I end up focusing on because it's honestly too expensive to collect everything I could ever want. So I
Hmm.
go for like, the artists that I like. I built like a mini like Nishida binder back then, got my girlfriend into it, and she does the same thing with her favorite artists in the game, like Sao Sao, and like I like collecting, some Tokiya art and stuff like that. There's just so many artists that are great. But for me, after that, I was like, okay, I want a first edition Charizard.
Hell yeah.
Because like, it's one of those
Who
things where you're
doesn't?
like, all right, yeah, everybody wants this card. It's like the card. Like I had an unlimited nine that I graded in like the first submission I ever sent out, and I was like, it gave me the thirst, like I was like, all right, like I need to trade my way up or make my way up to this like very fancy Charizard. And the first edition Charizard I ever had actually graded a three. So that was
Okay.
cool.
Yeah.
I bought it raw for like $1,000 or whatever. But then it was never the end goal to only have a three, so I sold it, right? And I just kept going, kept grinding. and I really couldn't swallow the thought of paying $4,000 for like a PSA 9, which was at the time that I was hunting was like how much it was. I was like, man, that's like a lot of money.
It
So
is, yeah.
instead, I spent a few thousand on someone's collection binder back in like 2018, and I graded a 9 first edition Charizard from that binder, and I sold a lot of the other cards to fund building the rest of the set. So I
That's
like yeah,
that's
I
crazy.
built my way up to that big purchase, graded like pretty much the entire collection. That collection was honestly crazy. Like, I know we were talking about how you just had Charlie on the podcast.
Hmm.
I actually got a sealed set of vending from that collection. And this was before things were honestly worth a lot of money. I think I sold the full set of vending, sealed, unpeeled, for like $500 to Charlie. And I hope he still has that,
Jeez.
and I hope he's listening to this because I want that back someday.
Jeez. That's just insane to me. Like,
Yeah.
for me, it's just so cool because like I came into the hobby right when things were about to just pop off, right?
Yeah.
I started
Right
taking things,
before.
yeah, like I started taking things like very very seriously in September 2019. So like that's only like
Mhm.
what, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. That's 7 months before COVID
Yeah.
actually just hit,
And
and
then bam, everything just poof.
everything just spiked. And so like just hearing like stories from like yourself and other people who have been who've been involved in the hobby for just so long, and just hearing these types of stories and the price points that you guys are just buying this stuff at, it's just
It was
crazy.
crazy.
But one thing is one thing's for sure though, a lot of the people that came into the hobby at that time, I mean, I hate saying this, like, because I think anyone who comes into the hobby who just has, just any sort of passion to any sort of various degrees, I call them true collectors. Like, if you just even have, like,
Sure,
just the smallest amount of love for Pokemon, I consider you as a true collector,
sure.
or a true fan of the hobby. But, like, you guys know that there's just genuine passion and love for the hobby because you guys collected these things before the value was there, right? Like, that's just cool to
Yeah,
me.
honestly. You couldn't really chase the riches as much back then, right? Like a
No,
lot
you
of
couldn't.
people would love to do now. I mean, that this was back when Leonhardt first bought his PSA 10 for 20K, right?
Yeah,
And that was
yeah.
like mind blowing to everybody. And people are like, why would you ever? Blah, blah, blah. Why would you spend that much on a card? Even now, I look back on like stuff that happened back in like the early 2000s, late 2000. I'm like, oh my God, if only I had just a little bit more foresight. Even then, like, it's not like, yeah, I was collecting back in like 2011, 2012. And I mean, I might have made out like a bandit if I was collecting cards and booster boxes and stuff, but I just wasn't into it. I wanted plush toys, so I collected plush toys instead.
Hey,
I'm not
there's
going to
nothing
be
wrong with
rich from
that.
plush toys.
You
Yeah, I'm not
might.
going to be
Hey, you
rich from
might.
it, right? Yeah,
There's
you
some
never know.
plushes that go for a lot of money these days. Like
I
the
know.
Tomy Lugia with the Pikachu on the back. That thing. That's like a goal. Like
I know.
that's another Lugia Grail of mine that I absolutely want. Cause I'm a
I think
Lugia collector.
I think you should get that someday because I want the Entei Suicune and Raikou, and we could have like a very cool like
I want
four
those
giant
too.
plush
I want those
photo
too.
shoot. Man,
I want those lottery shine. Like after Swolpo kind of showed it on his story, I'm like, what is that? I gotta have that now. And so
I
yeah,
they're
that's
really
just
cool.
me.
I still have the regular Entei Suicune and Raikou Poke Dolls, including I mean like one of my this is kind of I guess what was the precursor for all the era collecting I do now, but like I found a double tagged Suicune Japanese Poke Doll, and I
Hmm.
thought that was like the coolest thing. And now, even now, when I show people in like the Poke Doll Poke Plush community, they're like, "Holy shit! Like that's the craziest thing! Like I can't believe you found one like that." But yeah, like it's just things like that that honestly have really kept me going, and they made me
Yeah.
really happy back then. So I'm happy to continue trying to like seek out stuff like that now. It's just it's too much now. They release way too much merchandise and way too many cards.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. And it's only with certain things that I find like that I find like very interesting. I know that they release a lot of different things, but there's some unique items that do show up that it's like,
yeah.
"Oh, I have to have it." Like the
Hmm.
Daniel Arsham crystallized Charizard and
Oh man.
Pikachu, and the
Yeah.
second round of stuff that he did. That I think that's actually something worth having. Um, I also
He's an
think
artistic hero of mine, so yeah,
yeah, dude. Seeing like
it's
I want the white Charizard. Like I could get the pink one that's a little bit more affordable, but like
no,
you
the
gotta go
white one is
big.
cooler. The
You
white
gotta go
release is
big.
way cooler. I
Yeah.
agree.
And so like I want that just to match my nine shadow my first edition Shadowless Charizard card. Like I want to have like one specific spot
Yeah.
dedicated to just that. And like I have a bunch of different like Charizard Bandai finger puppets. I have the complete collection for that. So like I would love to
Okay.
build like a display just for that. I think that would be
Oh,
super sick.
the kid figures is
Yeah,
what
yeah.
what we
I
call
have the
kid figures.
entire thing. I have the cleared one. I have the
Oh,
clear ones. I have the different poses. Dude, I have it
you have
all
the
set
shiny
up.
ones too? Like all the like some of the rare shiny ones? Those are like my favorite. I love those.
Yeah, I have shiny Charizard right here.
There you go. See, how many people do you know who could tell you that those are called like kid figures and stuff?
I
Dude,
I,
it was an
I know
integral
like
part of my upbringing
yeah,
to
I have
this.
the shiny Charmeleon, which is pretty
There
rare to
you
find.
go.
I even have the shiny Charmander. I
I think at
have
my parents' house I still have. I want to say I had the shiny Latios and Latios, but I don't remember where I put them,
dude,
if
I want
anything.
so like
But
for those guys who do not know how rare they are, they're actually pretty rare. So the only way you could get these is through the Daisuke Club. And
hmm
it would be random. So it's like a lottery thing.
Yep.
And they're very, very limited on terms of how they produced them. So like based off of the current resources and the current people that I know, I think it's like up to 1,000 were made of some of these.
Yeah.
So like that's
hmm
how rare these are. And this is the shiny Rayquaza. That's a
So
big
dope.
one. I
Love
have the
that.
shiny Celebi, but that's not like through a Daisuke Club thing. It's just because of the
hmm
movie. And
Yeah,
then
I remember they released those.
I also even have like the Zukon figures of shiny Raikou, Entei, and
Oh,
Suicune.
oh my God, I remember we saw those literally like at a store, like here in Texas, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool," and I just left them. They were like
Yeah,
$15 each, you know.
yeah. I mean, like
But
they're super affordable off of eBay. And like with this current, with this current economy,
yeah,
I've been sort of focusing more on completing my entire figure collection. So right now, I'm
that's
actually in the process of trying to complete the entire shiny Bandai Kids line. So
awesome.
I'm
That's so
growing that.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I want to
I
have a
will,
display
dude.
for that.
I'll cheer you on the whole way because I love those things and like
Yeah, dude. I
I
love
have
them.
all the Piplups and stuff too. Somebody I actually met a guy while I was buying like Piplup cards from him. He was like, "Oh, I have like 60 Piplup kid figures. Do you want them?" And he was like, "You can just have them for like $5." And I was like, "Okay." And so I just have like a ton of Piplup kid figurines at home.
I don't have a display for this, so it's been in the bag since the guy sent it to me. But I have like every single Charizard finger puppet, every variation
That's
of it.
awesome.
So like
That's so awesome.
I've had it since like I bought it because like the guy I basically bought all of those, including the shiny Charmander, Charizard,
Yeah.
Charmeleon line. For I think I bought it for $150 back in
Dude,
like
that's awesome.
2019. I said like that's a no brainer because at that time single ones were selling for like $20. So I was like, okay, screw it,
Yep.
I'll take it.
No,
Just
dang.
to
See, this is awesome. These are conversations I like having about the
Yeah,
hobby.
dudes, hearing the whole live journal thing, it's like, yes, because I was just on live journal yesterday just to like find some more resources for a video that I'm currently working
That's
on.
fun.
And I'm like,
Very
dude,
cool.
I'm like trying to like complete the entire set. I have a buddy of mine who's like three figures away from completing the entire shiny Bandai Kids line. And
That's
Charmeleon's one of
crazy.
them that he needs, but I can't give it to him because it's the
You
only one that
can't
I
let
have.
yours go. Yeah,
No,
you
I'm
can't let
not.
yours
I'm not.
go.
But yeah, like kind of switching gears to put it back on you. Enough about me. Um, what was it like? At what point did you decide to say like, "Hey, I've been involved with the hobby for so long now. I
Yeah.
want to start a business, and that business is now called GradedGuard." Was there any other businesses prior to that in regards to this space in particular, or what was it that basically led you to say like, "Hey, I want to do this, and this is how I want to do it"? Because
Yeah.
there are people out there that do um, similar things, but in
hmm
my honest opinion, um, and this is with bias, is because I do like the actual product itself. The
Appreciate that.
case themselves actually pop. Um, but yeah, like what actually got you? Like what led you to saying that? Hey, I want to actually create a business behind this.
Sure. For me, right before COVID was when I left my last job. I was working as a data analyst. I was pretty miserable. And so I was like, I want to do something else. I genuinely didn't know what. I was still buying and selling Pokemon on the side, you know, making like a side income doing that. And I was like, if I leave my job, I can give myself time by just buying and selling cards. And I have like some decent collection pieces I can sell if I need to. Uh, and then this is literally the timing. 2 months later was when COVID hit. And I was like, okay, well, in the back of my mind, I wanted like a cafe or like a boba shop or something like that that could be kind of cool and chill with like some friends if we decided to go in on it. But that's not an option anymore. It'd probably be the worst option out of all of them. So I was just kind of figuring out like things to do, and I had coffee actually, and I'm pulling up a picture so I can show you guys. I had coffee with Mike, Professor O'Cally Mike,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and we were just talking about like grading and like the culture behind it in general. And then he showed me, I forget where it's from, but there was a company back then that made they basically made bumpers for like comic books, right? That you like stick on like a CGC graded comic book. And it's like a really thick, like industrial, like tire feeling like thing, like an otter, like a true like OtterBox feeling product. And then they made like a very small run of them for BGS cases because they were the most like a comic book.
Hmm.
And he showed me, and I was like, "Whoa, that looks pretty cool." I mean, it's a little chunky and it's a little big, like this thing's crazy, but it was also like cracked. And I was like, "Dang, it's like not even." No offense to whoever it was. Sorry, I don't know who it was, but it
Hmm.
wasn't like necessarily good quality or whatever. And it was just like the wrapping around the outside. So I was like, I was talking to Mike, and I was like, "Dude, no one has made like a phone case style case for cards or anything beyond kind of like phone cases, right?" And so this is, let's see, this is May 18th, 2020. I like screenshotted a phone case and I went home and I cut up some plastic and I legit made like the prototype of what is now, like the graded guard case, which is the like TPU on the outside, clear backing on the back to give it structure, just like a phone case. But this was May of 2020, and I was like, I'm gonna keep buying and selling Pokemon cards, but I'm gonna start trying to see if I can make this work. And then a year and a half later, after several suppliers, just talking to people, fixing the design from like an engineering perspective and kind of like what's possible, what works with tolerances, because PSA cases not only have they varied through the years, they still vary now, right? Based on
Hmm.
like how strong, weak, or inconsistent the sonic seal could be just because it's so mass produced.
Hmm.
Um, and plastics change all the time, expand, shrink. Yeah, about a year and a half later, and I was like, I want to make this happen. I believe in it enough to commit to like a full production run, because that was the only way to do it, right? It's like
Right.
I'm either gonna launch with everything or launch with only like two colors and not really be able to make an impact and have to like advertise like, oh, there's more coming soon and stuff like that. And so while I was able to keep myself afloat with like just buying and selling cards, I was like, this is something that could potentially not be so dependent on card values, right? If cards are expensive, cool. People want to protect them and display them. If cards are a bit cheaper, people can enjoy, like lower value cards and then like accessorize, personalize them and stuff. And so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna basically put my life savings into this. And here we are, like 6 months after launch, and I'm the busiest I've ever been. I'm very thankful for it. And like the community has been honestly amazing. I feel like, and I'm sure you see it too. I hop on Instagram every day and like people are basically putting it out there for me. And I love that. Like people are genuinely proud and excited, to have their cards in the cases and like color match, protect, show them off and stuff like that, bring them to
Yeah.
shows and stuff. So yeah, it's honestly been really crazy, but that's kind of like that's how it happened. It's
Yeah.
just a chance meeting, and then a couple of drawings and cutting up of plastic later, I ended up with something that I really wanted to make happen, and here we are.
That's still really cool though, because like, um, I know like the biggest thing about it is that the product itself markets itself because
It's pretty
I
great.
like when I first started seeing the actual graded guard cases, I was like, holy crap! You could people are actually color matching this to the actual card, and that's actually like really cool about it.
Yeah,
I think it adds a certain level of protection. Like yeah, sure, like I could put my cards into a patchy case and just fly out as is, or a Zion case as is and fly out.
yeah,
But like
hmm
that stuff does still shake within the actual case
yeah,
itself.
Hmm.
just having that extra level of protection goes a long ways with it. And I think um people, I think a lot of people see that, and it's not like these display cases are, well, these sort of protectors are too expensive. These graded guards aren't expensive at all. um
Yeah.
they run relative, like they're very affordable, and honestly, I'm just looking, and I keep saying this, I'm waiting to be able to color match all my Beckett slabs, because the moment they're
I
there,
know. I
I'm just
know.
ready to buy a buttload. But I did buy,
It's happening. It's happening.
yeah, but I did buy a few. Well, I bought a, well I got, you gifted me one, but I did buy one. And
Yep.
I do have a video of that will be going out onto the YouTube channel very soon. But that honestly is just probably the coolest thing there is. It just makes it, a little bit more personable. Um, as far as that goes, like, I know, like, after getting that graded guard from you, I'm never gonna sell my Shrek card. Like, people have
I
offered
love
me,
that.
like $200 for my Shrek card. And I'm like, no. And I bought that thing for $7. I bought those
Yeah,
for seven
exactly.
dollars. And like, after hearing like people from like the Whatnot guys, like Ryan and stuff like that, they said like, yeah, I traded this for like 200, like for like a $200 card. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And so
Yep.
like, it's just been awesome to see like the growth that you've had as a business, and it's only
Thank you.
more and more awesome to hear that the growth that you've had, especially in this sort of economy, is still fantastic. People are still getting their cards back, and I think
Yeah.
there's always this thing, um, that people will always have an attachment to, especially for their cards. Like, there's a lot of people that kind of have left the hobby, and
Yeah.
right, that's totally up to them if they want to stay or not, or just take a break from it. That's totally cool too. Um, but it's not just limited to Pokemon. It goes beyond that, right? Like, if I
Yeah.
wanted to get a Magic the Gathering card, or
I have one. Let's see, I have one right here. We got this nice sample CGC gave me in Florida. I mean, you're right. It can go beyond to anything. Here's a color that's not out yet. Don't look at it too close. But we're gonna pump out all the colors for all the grading companies. But it works well for sports too and everything like that. So I mean, you're right. I personally think the possibilities are kind of endless for something
yeah,
like this, and I'm happy that honestly it does bring a little bit extra enjoyment to people kind of in a time where, it's like you can't always be buying another card, right? Like it's a lot of money, people have different priorities now, especially as like the economy is shifting. But I get people at shows that come to me and they're like, okay, well, like this pink like prism variant is like my favorite card. Like, and now that I have a pink case on it, it's literally the best possible thing ever, and I am so much more satisfied with it and happy, and I'll display it proudly. And then they're not so keen on like having to make that next, two, $300, $400 purchase. And they're like, oh, well, I spent $10 on a case, and I'm like, I'm good to go.
yeah,
And I mean, for me, it's all about keeping like I did launch it a bit higher just because it's kind of what made sense as far as like company runway goes. But I mean, the price is $10 now across the board, and it's always going to stay $10 because it's the most akin to like a cell phone case. I really am
correct,
just modeling a lot of like the business and its pursuits on that
right.
because it needs to be like simple, right? Like something that doesn't interfere with like your use of the actual thing, doesn't interfere with the clarity and stuff. And it's like when you look at a phone with a case around it, I think a lot of people don't really think too much about it because it's not like you prop up a phone as a display thing, right?
Hmm.
But phone cases have the same principle, right? Like you're like, oh, my phone has a red border and a red back or whatever, right? And like I like how it looks more than a phone that is not accessorized and decorated. And now I'm just kind of trying to bring the same thing into the graded card community. And we've got millions of slabs out there, so it's only a matter of trying to find, all the people who care to do the same thing with theirs. So
Yeah, I mean,
good
like,
time.
you kind of got onto this like very up and coming emerging market, which is like being able to protect your cards. And whether it's, super expensive down to, like, value aside, like, I know most people, if not everyone, want to be able to protect either their investment, or they want to be able to protect the
Hmm.
sentimental cards that they
Yeah.
currently have. They want to be able to have it for such a long time. And like, not only is this product something that is something to protect your cards with, it acts as an accent to the card, right? I go to shows, and I walk across many booths who already have your graded guard, and you know, it makes the card stand
Right.
out versus anything else that's in that current case. Like, yeah, sure, you can have the prices there, and you can have like a special
Yeah.
spot for your most biggest cards, but like like not everyone has a graded guard around every single piece of inventory that they have at these shows. And it just like,
Yep.
oh yeah, like what is that? That looks really cool. Like, why would someone put that around this card? It must be special. And so,
Yeah.
you know, it becomes this sort of talking piece. Um, and you know, I'm very very hyped to see where it goes, because like
Thank
I
you.
have like there's a card that I currently have at Beckett. It's slightly bigger than a normal Pokemon card, so it's in a it's in a bigger Beckett case. So like
Uh-huh.
obviously when your Beckett when your business is, you know, flourishing a lot more, and you have much more variations to pick from on the website. I think that'll be pretty cool to get that in, because I don't know, I just collect a lot of niche things, and it'd be really cool to get
Yeah.
like maybe a picture of like, because I do plan on sending off like a lot of my Shikishis, because I just got these Shikishis in.
Oh,
Um,
those will be great. I
yeah,
mean,
like
yeah, for me, it's like I would love to be at the point where I can just kind of do everything. Oh
yeah,
yeah, that's gonna be
yeah,
amazing.
I would love to get that eventually. Eventually, not right now. No
Hmm.
rush.
It'll happen in due time. First, we got to get colored Beckett cases out. So
Yeah,
I do have like more colors coming in the next like couple of months. I'm just rolling them out a bit slowly, and supply chain is kind of rough right now too. So
yeah. That's with
it's not just me.
everything. That's with everything. I run a business, and I know what that's like.
Yeah.
Since this is live, there are some people who are making some comments. Artemis says I have a small may have to look into getting a couple. These sound and look really cool. They are really cool.
I
You know,
appreciate that, Artemis.
if you see a lot of people like these, like the product itself markets itself. Like there's so many people out there that take pictures. Like I just saw Poke Trainer Jess, who had a card
Yeah.
in a graded guard case, and it just, I think it was a Dark Magician Girl.
Yeah, I think it was Darwin Disco in a pink case. Yeah.
Yeah, and that thing looked sick. And I was like, man,
Yeah.
aesthetically,
Yeah.
it just works with pictures, and it's just like, I
Hmm.
don't know. Even when you have it in the case and you have numerous amounts of graded guards of different variations inside of a case, it just looks cool.
It's
And
just fun, right? Like
yeah,
you're looking at a stack of colors versus just like solid plastic across
yeah,
the
yeah,
top.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's like the coolest thing about it. Gamer videos, Aruto Hiden, no, not sure. Do you think One Piece TCG full art is good quality? I have not been able to see the cards themselves, so
Yeah, I
I
haven't
don't
gotten
really
any.
have an actual opinion on it. But I know that I know a lot of cards are, I think they were released at Anime Expo, or they're shown at Anime Expo. Um, I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what that's like. As this channel changes as of this week, this channel will change to the Vaulted Podcast officially. This week, it'll be across the name will basically change across everything, the email, Spotify, everything. We'll be talking and touching on a lot of new TCGs as well as more older TCGs. So I'm very, very excited about that. Instead of pivoting towards something that's relatively new, which most people would do, especially in a time where there's not much interest behind Pokemon cards, there's not as much interest as what it was back in 2020. I
Yeah,
want to be able to expand into other TCGs. I know you're only here till 10 o'clock, so I want to touch on this last thing. Guys,
sure.
if you haven't done so, make sure you check out gradedguard.com, or just
Thank
follow
you.
GradedGuard on Instagram. Make sure you do that. That's just the best place to go about, you know, seeing all the cool stuff that's there. But I want to talk about shows. You're at a lot of shows. We touched on it a little bit. This
Yep.
is your first time going to the National. Uh,
Yes.
do you have a booth at the National?
I do not, but I am partnering with other companies to give away some cases. So we'll be posting about, like where you can go buy other products and get like a graded guard for free, or where you can go pick up a graded guard if you sign up for this or that. I'm currently ironing out a few more of those things, but yeah, that's kind of what we're working on right now in the next like 2 weeks, just
Yeah, I know. I
to
told
really get the product on the ground.
I know myself in 100 Charizards. I don't know if the conversation is currently happening right now, but I know that we asked like Don Diego to hit you up for swag bags.
It hasn't yet, but I can also hit her up too.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. I think you
yeah,
should. I
I've
think you should
talked to her
if you
before.
haven't yet, because like
I'll see.
I don't know if she has it done yet.
Sure.
But like she said like she has a budget to work with, so like That'd be really
Okay.
cool because like I know that she's having the first ever non TCG trade
Yeah,
night on Friday,
yes, I saw
which
that, and that is awesome, and I
yeah,
will absolutely be there. I think that's like the coolest thing. So,
yeah. I'm like
but yeah,
very very
I'll
stoked
hit
for
up
you.
Laura. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'll
I
see
think
what she
I
wants to do.
told her, but at that time she was just taking a break from social media at that time. I don't know if she's gotten to yet, but
Sure.
I think I'm supposed to play Fortnite with her after this. We'll talk
Nice.
about it. Yeah.
Nice.
Just yeah, I think it'd be really really cool. I think what you're doing is just awesome. I think it's not necessarily about the money, even though this is a business for you. It's just
Sure.
more. It's just making collectibles just much more personable for people. I think
Yeah.
that's like the coolest thing about it because it's like you just see I myself I'll see like my Shrek card and I'll just like dang this is really cool. It just
I'm
works
glad.
because like I
It's a
went up
good
to you and
good
I was
feeling.
like we were in Miami. I was like, hey man, do you have like a Shrek green case or pistachio green case? He's like, yeah, but like you had to promise me that this is not something that you're selling. I was like, dude, I'm not selling this Shrek card. What like I do
Yep.
not want to sell this card whatsoever. This is the only one I kept in my personal collection, and it just means a lot to me because like when I have like 15 of them, so I made it like this whole
Yep.
running joke where it's like it's all ogre now. We're gonna make this the most expensive card there is, and it's just something that means a lot to me. So getting that as a gift from you, and it's just like the best thing ever. Um, but on
I'm
that
glad
note,
you like it.
yeah, appreciate it. On that note, is there anything that you want to like discuss or talk about? Because I know we touched on, how you got into the hobby, how that, hobby influenced you, and what was going on in the real world to kind of influence you to do what you love, and that is to
Yeah.
still be involved in the hobby, but much more to the extent of being able to create a product for
Yeah.
people to protect their cards as well as like appreciate their cards just a little bit more. Um, is there anything else that you wanted to add?
I think just to that point, and I mean for me, it's one of those things where it's like honestly, I know it's definitely a privilege and a blessing to like even attempt a business like this, like in the hobby, in the space of the hobby. There are a million other people who want to or are currently doing things in the hobby, like to make products or like peripheral things that, people use for accessories and stuff. But I will say, and I think they all share the same sentiment, it is so amazing that like it's a thing where when I should go to a show, it's not about like, oh, I have to sell this card for this amount of money to make X
Mm,
profit, which is fine because I live that life too, right? I have cards that I sell and cards that I buy, but now whenever I go to a show, it's purely focused on is the person who comes here leaving happier, right, than they were before they got here? And I think it is honestly the most amazing thing because the answer is like always yes, right? People pull out their Zion cases and they're like, all right, here are four of my favorite PC cards. Like, what do you got? And I just color match them and then they walk away. They're like beaming when they walk away. And it's like honestly the greatest thing. And I think that impact is something you can only have like in person, or you can only guarantee it in person because I can talk to them, show them, and everything. So that's why I try my best to go to all the shows I can. That being said, it's not possible for me to go to every single show ever.
right, but
So,
I think you're also a great salesman at that, because like, like when I came up to your booth and I'm trying to buy and I'm buying a graded guard case, you're like, hey, let me see the card, and then you're like actually going through and trying to find the best thing that suits in terms of aesthetic appeal. Like you have a really good eye. Like you went through and actually found the right kind of graded guard for my 1997 PSA 9 Cardist card.
yeah,
And I think
yeah.
that's what like made it really really awesome. Like you're a really really good salesman because you're actually like
Thank you.
you're respecting other people's collectibles so much to the point where it's like I'm going to take time out to actually find the right kind of graded guard for you. And I think
Yeah,
that experience makes it a lot more, again, it makes it much more personable and personal to the person that's buying something from you. And they're always gonna buy. They're always gonna come back. Like like collectors are always like you have a bit. It's kind of like a barber shop. People are always gonna want to get
yeah,
their hair cut, right? Like people are always gonna get their cards graded, and you're kind of in this emerging market, this new business that I think people are always going to be able to come back and say like,
yeah.
hey, I want to buy this. And obviously, you probably have things behind the works. You probably have things behind the curtains in terms of different innovations or something that you're probably working on, and or
Yeah,
whatever partnerships or collaborations that you're probably working on. Like the sky's the limit with what you do, and a lot of us here that do enjoy your product or will buy a product, or myself, I'm very very excited to see the level of trajectory that you're going to have.
Thank you.
And I wouldn't have just anybody on the podcast if that was the case. I always want to bring in the right kind of people on this
Sure.
podcast because I feel like, it's all about creating value for our audience, and that's just what's important. Again, this is not a sponsored podcast by GradedGuard. This is me being a fan of the actual product and
I
knowing
appreciate it.
the trajectory of what's going to happen with this product. So again, thank you so much for joining the podcast. I know that you have a business
Absolutely.
meeting right here in a few more minutes, so we're gonna go ahead and call it a quits. But
Sure. I
we look
appreciate
forward
that.
to having you on the podcast again in the future. And you're more
Will
than
do.
welcome to come back at any time just to talk shop. I want to be able to start doing a podcast segment after, because like I do these podcasts on Tuesdays. I want to do something on a Thursday
Yeah.
where it's kind of like where I have that same guest come back, and it's called Show and Tell, where
Okay.
they
Cool.
just come back
Yeah.
and they show all their cool things that they have and just kind of talk about it. And I
I
think that's like the
I
coolest
think
thing
that'd
about
be
it.
really fun. It's kind of like the podcast after the podcast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm thinking
Well,
about
here,
doing that. Yeah. So,
I have something fun though. This is like my favorite thing. It's literally the last thing that I bought, so I'm gonna show and tell it because I'm so
hell
excited
yeah,
about it. But
hell
I've
yeah.
been so hyped because of the latest season of Stranger Things that
Yes,
I'm getting into it from a card perspective. So here's
dude, that is sick.
a Sadie Sink signed Topps Stranger Things season 2 card. So yeah, I just got it. It came in like the eBay thing. I just got Erica as well. I've got Steve and let's see, who do I have coming in the mail? I have Steve and what's his name? Dustin and Will also. Still need to buy a hopper, but it's a deep world when you get into it.
Dude,
I think
that's
it's really
it's just
cool what Top
cool.
did. So
Yeah. Do you think last question before we end this, like do you think that you starting this business made you find a little bit much more more appreciation for other things outside of the realm of Pokemon?
yes, I genuinely think so because it got me more into, and it's not like I didn't know about things like a lot of
Right.
sports cards and then just other collectibles in general, but now I am like blessed with just like I go to shows and people bring all their personal collection and it is the most random stuff, right? Like people are proudly showing me their like one of five like Star Wars red refractor from like Topps Chrome and I'm like, dang, like I want something like that.
Yeah,
And
this this
I'm like,
hobby's
all
not
right,
good for the pockets.
it's not because I'm like, well, what else is there that I'm like really into that, like I might want to collect and I'm like, all right, let's see what else there is out there. I mean, I'm just now finishing like my artist signed Marvel anime set from
Mm.
2020. They had like artist inserts for all of the base cards, like
You're
each
talking
one's
about with
numbered
White
to
Schwartz, right?
120. No, this is Marvel Anime. It was
Oh,
released. Yeah, it was a completely different release. I think it's Upper Deck. Yeah, Upper Deck that released
okay.
them, but it's like a 90 card set. They're all illustrated by Peach Momoko, a Japanese artist who does a lot of their cover variants. But
Right.
she actually signed 120 of each of the cards, and those were all inserted, one per booster box or whatever.
That's sick.
Um, yeah, and I have 89 of them now. I'm literally missing just Psylocke, and there's no one selling one right now, so I just gotta wait until I can find one. But I'm going to grade the whole set and then color match them in graded guard, and then hopefully by shows at the end of this year, I will like put them out in like a nice display case, all like 90 artist signed cards in like a full sequential numerical color match set. So that's another thing that I kind of like hopped on because I'm like, I like this artist, I like these cards, and
Yeah.
why not? Like it's the cost of like a couple of big Pokemon cards, right? It's like I
Right.
sell some Pokemon and just move it into something that I'm a little bit more personally into.
Attached at that moment. Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah, so I really do like I really am thankful that like I've gotten exposed to so many things. Maybe
Yeah.
my pockets aren't as thankful because the business needs to run more than like I need Stranger Things cards, but
Right. Yeah. Of course.
like it's fine. We're making it work.
Yeah, for sure. Well, again, it's an honor to have you on the podcast, guys. If you
Thank
aren't
you.
following Graded Guard, please do so. Again, please like, comment, and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you do share this. Share this to your Instagram stories. If you find the podcast entertaining or enjoyable or informative, make sure you follow us on make sure you follow me on Instagram and make sure you join the Discord. That's where I'm pretty much there. I'm there. I'm much more available to talk to on there versus like let's say Instagram now. I am
Yeah.
relatively busy, so it's hard to be in every social media platform there is, but I do
You
my
don't want to
best.
reply to everybody everywhere?
Dude,
That's
it's
what they
so
expect from
tough.
me too.
It's so tough, but I do my best. But on that note, thank you
Awesome.
guys so much. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We're almost at
Thank you,
1,000,
everyone.
so please, please help sharing this. It helps. And just to briefly talk about our
I
sponsors.
will share this too. I will
Appreciate
share
it, dude.
this
Appreciate
all
it.
across the GradedGuard platform. It'll be good.
Appreciate it. Just to briefly talk about our sponsorships. We are sponsored by the Pokemon Network. Kenley, if you're watching this, we're shouting you out. You diva, okay? Guys,
Kenley is great.
yeah, dude bothered me all day today. Guys, make sure you follow the Pokemon Network if you haven't done so. He's this guy, he's this Asian dude who gets in a Charizard onesie and runs around saying, "Woo! I'm the Pokemon Network." Make sure you follow him. He has the
Yep.
most affordable of cards down to the most expensive of cards. He's your one-stop shop. The Collector app is the most advanced portfolio tracking app there is. We just got Unlisted Leaf on the Collector team. Make sure you download the app. The sky's the limit with this app. You can track multiple TCGs as well as Funkos and basketball cards and sports in the future. We got TCG Stadium. You can buy Modern, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pokemon product. And then finally we have Double Infinity Gaming. Double Infinity Gaming is an online card shop based in South Florida. And you can buy all things and everything Magic the Gathering. Julie and Will are great, amazing people. Make sure you contact them through Instagram at Double Infinity Gaming. And if you have any questions about Magic the Gathering, ask them. They'll be more than happy to help you out. On that note, guys, thank you guys so much for joining the Poke Tea Time podcast. It'll now be called the Vaulted Podcast next week. And we'll see you guys on the next one. We got a lot of cool guests coming up, and I'm really, really stoked for you guys. So thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Thank you guys. Bye.